Today on the Topping Show, Ted Cruz on activist judge putting a convicted male child abuser inside a female prison. Mark Hamill, Red Nose Day backfires completely. Nikki Haley endorses Donald Trump. Illinois proposes changing the term offender to justice impacted individual. Vivek buys 7.7% of Buzzfeed. Alexa to add AI. And Citi fat finger error leads to a sale of 444 billion instead of the intended 58 million. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day because he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Vivek buying 7.7% of Buzzfeed for reasons. Now, this is first brought to us thanks to CNN by an individual writer over there by the name of Crystal, in which they say right on the top, Buzzfeed stock soars after Vivek Ramaswamy acquires active stake, which, yeah, basically nearly doubled, still under $5 per share. But granted, by the time this video is actually rendered and uploaded, it'll change because stock is like that. But nevertheless, a good reference point. And again, they say it looks like the stock gained 20% last Wednesday and increased even more after the news that he acquired 7.7% stake of the company. The stock then popped up more than 82%. And of course, when we asked for comment, Vivek said, stay tuned. And it looks like the record low was 67 cents per share throughout the company's history because they've been basically on life support for years. I mean, it's one of the best websites that really capitalized on the idea of going viral, so to say. And they used to write basically a lot of garbage quality wise, but it was very addicting and people thought it was brilliant, so they tuned in. Now the question is, why is Vivek buying it? I can't suspect, is he trying to like pull an Elon Musk where he thinks he just buys it all outright, then he could turn the company around? I mean, I don't think that's really possible in that case. You've seen a very similar instance where you have Vice News. Vice, back in the day, used to be one of the most controversial, fastest growing media companies out there. And I always thought it was really cool. You had Tim Pool interview, was it Kim.com back in the day, which is best known for the website that used to be Mega Upload, which is a peer-to-peer sharing website. And they interviewed people that no other traditional news media outlet would. And then slowly but surely, Vice got active investments from traditional legacy media companies. They got accused of, what was it? They got accused of sexual harassment, and then they became feminist overnight, just acquiescing to all the demands. And they quickly became trash. And no one tuned in anymore. And Vice, I mean, they were worth billions, and at the end of the day, they sold for mere millions, which, again, is still more money than most people have ever seen in a lifetime. But previously, they were worth so much more, so it was pretty pathetic to say the least to the company trajectory. And again, with Buzzfeed, I can't help but think, what is it really going to take to turn it around? I mean, when was the last time you just talking about the water cooler? When was the last time you ever actually heard someone talking about Buzzfeed, yet alone actually trying to tune in? I mean, again, Vivek has a pretty good track record of building companies, so it'll be interesting to see if maybe he could add to his resume turning them around. Let me know in the comments. Do you think he'll be able to successfully do that, or do you think it's his lost cause? As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have Alexa to add AI to their offering. Now, this comes to us thanks to LinkedIn writer by the name of Ebba Thorne, in which she says, quote, Alexa, let's try AI. Amazon is adding generative artificial intelligence to its 10-year-old voice assistant, and upgrading will be accompanied by a monthly subscription fee, unquote. Because, of course, everything in our life has to be a subscription, unfortunately. But that's what the business model is for most things in life. Not to sound nostalgic, but there's a reason most of the tools and most of the kind of the things in this place is for my grandpa. They built them pretty robust back then, and I once cry once, so to say. But nevertheless, they also say that, quote, citing anonymous sources, the more conversational Alexa is set to debut later this year and help with e-commerce giant better compete with new chatbots from Google and OpenAI, which some have called Alexa and Siri killers. Many users will rely on Alexa for basic duties such as setting timers, or recently, the Alexa team is worried that they invented an expensive alarm clock, one source says. Well, not only expensive alarm clock, but a very expensive propaganda machine. There's quite a few fascinating videos on YouTube, Rumble. Well, dare say the competitor, otherwise this video will get 2 views. When traditionally this video statistically will get at least 1 view. I partially kid, but nevertheless, it's one of those instances where there's a huge inherent bias with most of those AIs when you talk about pretty much anything conservative wise or just history in general. They usually obfuscate the truth and add their bias. Now, Alexa, I know a lot of people use that. What is it, like the grocery shopping list reminders and alarms? And they also said that here, some people think it's going to be make or break the company, which I was going to say Amazon is so large. Honestly, being a few things could really make or break Amazon at this point. And yeah, probably so many people already have those spy bots inside their houses. I don't know why, but nevertheless, a lot of people do have them in their houses. They can have, Amazon recording everything they say and do. It's almost as if they never read 1984 by George Orwell, but I partially digress. It'll be interesting to see what kind of added value this is and how many people are willing to pay for that subscription, or more likely, again, this is all speculation here, they'll probably just add that to the Amazon Prime, which, geez Louise, back in the day, it was free for college kids. Then it was like, what was it, $60, $70, $100? Yeah, needless to say, I suspect I'm part of the 1% of Americans who do not have Amazon Prime because it's all just luxury crap you don't need, and it's all like convenience. You really don't need anything on that platform. So it'll be interesting. I think that would be a good way to force adoption, because again, Amazon's going to have a big benefit to rolling this technology out, spying on people even more, helping it build their AI with increased data consumption. Maybe they just add $5 more a month to that already big Amazon Prime bill that people, again, millions of people love Amazon Prime. They love getting their stuff, within a minute or two of ordering it. And they love great things, great production values. Amazon Prime, like, Lord of the Rings knockoff that they made. That's a joke because everyone hates it who's a true Tolkien fan. Yeah, The Rings of Power is an abomination to the original works. But nevertheless, do you think this will be a success that'll actually propel Amazon even more? Do you think it'll be a flash in the pan? And a lot of companies are just using the term AI will get your stock go up a little bit and get people and get investors interested. Do you think this will truly bolster the offering of Alexa? And what additional capacities do you think will make people's lives easier, perhaps? Or will it eventually just be used to enslave us all, like the Terminator, which used to be a science fiction, but perhaps not for long. But in all seriousness, let me know in the comments. As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Culture Prod podcast, you have Mark Hamill, Red Nose Day backfires. I mean, he certainly seems like a clown lately, but nevertheless, this comes from Mark Hamill's ex-Twitter profile, in which he says, quote, "Join me in supporting Red Nose Day. It's not just a day, it's a movement dedicated to ending child poverty and giving millions to kids across the country access to healthcare, nutritious foods, quality education, safe housing, and much more. Hashtag it's all good." That's a quote, but if it was all good, then why would you need to do anything like raise awareness or, I guess, donations? If it was truly all good, you wouldn't need to do anything. Now, of course, then he has a picture of him looking like Mark Hamill, the clown nose, which, let's just say politics-wise, he's a big fan of Marxism and communism and things that, historically speaking, have never actually worked. Many would say he's moved to the Vulcan side of the Vulcan side of Battlestar Galactica. No, wait. Star Wars. Kidding. But yeah, he looks as cliche as usual. And yeah, interesting enough, he got a lot of views. He got about 500,000 views, but only 20,000 likes, which is not a lot to say the least. And also, again, it's cliche Hollywood hypocrisy at its finest, but he says, "Join me in supporting Red Nose Day." Now, wouldn't it be more effective to leave like a link? Like if your goal is to raise money for some type of organization, nonprofit, whatever it is, one would think you would leave a quick link where you just click it and then you go donate. Wouldn't that make more logic? So right now he's just telling me Red Nose Day, and it's a hashtag. If you click it, it just takes us to all the other people who put a red nose on their... Oh, it also helps the Gates Foundation. Oh, very quality. They would never actually... they would never do anything evil. Just like the Clintons. I should say, for the record, I appreciate life and want to live it to its fullest. For the record. So the hashtag just... Is that Bill Gates doing it? Jeez. Heck, Bill Gates did it too. So they're all raising awareness, which is, I don't want to say a waste of money, but it's not even a waste of money. There's where do you donate? Did she do one? No, that's a hashtag. That's a face. So I guess if you retweet it, you have to hashtag the Gates Foundation to give 25 kids who need it most, which interesting mechanism. But again, there's no link. And then how do they keep I guess back end logistics, they try to keep track of that? I'm afraid a lot of idiots did this. They look about how you think. So again, it's not really a good call to action. And of course, he's gonna get roasted in the comments. We'll review them in a second here. But yeah, I don't know. Has Mark Hamill never had a sales job or a customer service job or a job that requires you to like put an effort, to, like generate money? I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand acting is a thing. You're standing in front of a camera. You have to fake emotions, all that kind of stuff. But like any rudimentary sales job would tell you, like how does this guy make the sale? Like he's telling us about it, but there's no link to donate. That blows my mind how dumb this is. And again, I understand it's a good cause. Well, not really. The money's going to the Gates Foundation in some cases, so I don't really know if it's really a good cause. The idea of helping children, I think everyone in the world would agree with that, except the globalists who don't want there to be any. But nevertheless, most people with modicum of heart do want to help the kids. And yet, there's really no way to do that in this tweet. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everyone in the comments is giving Mark accolades because of his brilliance and his, intelligence. Probably not, but let's dive on in. Or, ironically enough, how has no one compared him to Jar Jar Binks in terms of his mental intellect? How that comparison has not been brought to the forth more is beyond me, but nevertheless. Going down, one of the first comments comes from Josetta Caruso. She says, "It's a wonderful cause. You should have that clown nose surgically attached because it suits you perfectly." I got 430 likes. Mike Perino says, "You're a clown every day. Why should today be any different?" Getting 518 likes. Tim Sharp says, "You're a clown without nose," getting 494 likes. Matthew Martin says, "This is how I see you every day on this platform," 356 likes. Livercat Media TM says, "Red Nose Day, more like you're a clown and missing the rest of your outfit." And it's Yoda saying, "Moron Mark Hamill is," unquote, getting 425 likes. So far, now, statistically, it would be fascinating to see, does he achieve the Chris Christie effect? A fascinating social media phenomenon where we've seen twice in the past year, where Chris Christie will post something on X Twitter, and he'll get 0 positive responses, which is, again, a statistical outlier, because one would suppose Chris Christie has, things like family, friends, a campaign staff, yet no one of them actually said anything positive in the comments. Could Mark Hamill achieve the Chris Christie effect? Well, how many comments are there? You might have to round up. There's 3.1 thousand comments, and again, we're reading them as you see them in the news feeds. This is by the number of likes, how many people is in order by number of likes. Boiling Point Live says, "Stop taking advantage of children." That'd be a good start. Getting 194 likes. Let's see here. We did. I spoke too soon. We actually found a contrarian statement. Someone who believes in Mark Hamill. This comes from Abby Tales, who describes themselves as a 24/7 humorista. That can't be a real job. Nerd of many shenanigans. This person gets an A+ for vernacular. We don't use the word shenanigans enough. We need to bring that back. But nevertheless, this individual says, "Robin Williams was a real Patch Adams. I highly suggest visiting Mr. Adams. He's a very wonderful human for our healthcare and Earth." I mean, spoiler, he passed away some years ago, but that's not a negative comment. It's not really giving Mark accolades, but nevertheless, we'll count it. That did get 60 likes. Let's see, Uncle Bucket says, "Nice to see you switching from the normal brown notes for a day. Your work for charities." It says, "Every masterpiece has a cheap copy." You have the real Star Wars juxtaposed with Spaceballs. Getting 66 likes. Okay, we did find someone praising Mark Hamill. Again, there are millions of people who love him, despite his, mental ineptitudes, like him calling Biden the best president in history, which, again, I have friends who like Biden. I have friends who like Trump. I have friends in the middle. Just statistically speaking, I don't know anyone on the planet who would say Biden's the best president in history. I don't know anyone in the real world who would say that. And Mark Hamill said it and took a picture with him on, was it May 5th? Or May the 4th. And that cliche Star Wars, Star Trek thingamajig. And of course, the most latest thing was some Photoshop, so instead of saying, Star Wars, it was Start Wars, which statistically speaking, I kept buying pretty busy. So Mark says, Matt says to Mark, the best thing about you is that there's no doubt about how good and decent of a man you are. Thank you, sir. 1, 2, 3, 4 praying emojis, which is ironic because most people in Hollywood don't do that. And then he has a picture of Red Nose getting 41 likes. Let's see. Concerned Citizen says, just what do they have on you, Mark? Were you on the island too? Getting 35 likes, which, if I were to guess, he just wants to be famous in Hollywood and stay culturally relevant, which, again, culturally speaking, there are a lot of people who make careers out of being Republican fans, being Democrat fans, and propping up establishments. I mean, maybe they have something, Mark, but I think more likely he just wants to secure his role or his legacy in Hollywood and keep getting the people who love him to like him even more, who are more politically active. Let's see here. Another person that's not ratioing him, someone named Billy Eyelashes, Ukraine flag, pirate flag emoji of America flag. They describe themselves as a Mary Italiano. That's a new word for me. Son of a alien immigrant pirates, lifelong Democrat. This person says, I seek truth to power. Nevertheless, this Billy Eyelashes says, ending child poverty and hunger should be the #1 priority for the future of America. Hashtag vote blue, FFS. Getting 51 likes. Now, hilariously, this person says ending child poverty and hunger should be the #1 priority for the future of America. Yet the first flag they have in their emojis is the Ukrainian flag, which I think we give them about $200 billion. I know some of that is reinvested with local U.S. defense contractors and other armaments that we're, buying and sending over. But still, I mean, just throwing money at the problem would never end hunger. You have to, the only really way to do it is to get maximum employment, so that everyone has a ways to feed themselves. And even then, unless you have the government forcing people, not everyone is going to want to work. A lot of people just stay at home and do nothing because of welfare incentive mechanisms. So there's no real way to conceivably end hunger in a free world. You can get as little as possible, I think, if you have a massive deregulation and you're actually able to stabilize some of these unstable countries around the globe. You can get the number of unemployment down dramatically and thereby decrease poverty and hunger dramatically as well, but I don't think it's possible to get to 0. But let me know in the comments. That did get 51 likes. Let's see here. Dennis M says, great idea, and has a bunch of creep-looking clowns. It says, it's 2024. Hey, historic crime rates, historic inflation, record illegal immigration, 8% mortgage rates, 2 major wars, record high gas prices, Jews fearing for their lives on college campuses, and you stand in line again to vote for Joe Biden. Getting 15 likes. You have Keith Aloha, who describes himself as vote Democrat in 2024. It will be the last time he can. Ow. My eye hurt because I rolled back so quickly. Because that's what everyone always says. This also describes himself as a LGBTQ animal lover, pro-choice, gun reform, expand SCOTUS, no MAGA, and never Trump. So, mentally vacuous would be the nicest way to say anything about him. But again, I'll actually follow him actually on X Twitter because I want as much data as possible, and maybe he'll say some interesting things. He simply says end child poverty, and there's a little gif of what? Well, so the gif is of a dog with like a red ball bouncing on his nose. It says Red Nose Day. Nevertheless, I did get 10 likes. Hollywood Pete says use the nose, Luke, and it's Darth Vader with the red nose, getting 17 likes. Let's see. Philip Anderson says F you and your red nose communist, getting 198 likes. Eric was here, says Red Nose Day, you're a clown every day, bro, getting 279 likes. MAGA Elvis says same jokes write themselves, getting 22 likes. Nacho Business says ratio, getting 30 likes. Mr. 30 Blow says nothing quite like actors pretending to care about children when the state of child trafficking in Hollywood being what it is, getting 95 likes. Let's see. Mike Harbin says, it looks like a Malcolm X quote. This quote, the Democrats are playing you for a political chump, and if you vote for them, not only are you a chump, but you are a traitor to your race, Malcolm X. And it also says he's killed 2 days after saying this, getting 84 likes. Someone by the name of Clip Keeper. This picture of just himself with the clown outfit on. Don Connects. This person says Mark Hamill wants you to register to vote today, getting 90 likes. Actually, a pretty good AI image of Mark Hamill. dressed up as Uncle Sam, which is hilariously ironic because that's the antithesis of most of his ideologies. But that did get 90 likes. So mostly ratio, to say the least. And again, talking about an ineffective campaign. And also, yeah, let me know. So did that picture, that quote, inspire you to go donate money? Well, certainly not for me, because there wasn't even a link. So if you really want to get active to help this cause, which it sounds like more of a conceptual cause than a specific nonprofit, even though one person said if you retweet this, Bill Gates Foundation or Blunder Gates Foundation will give some $25 a repost, something like that. So he's just talking about the concept of energy child poverty, which is virtue signaling at its peak. It's like saying everyone should everyone deserves nice things. Everyone deserves it's one of those. Yeah, it's terrible. It's mentally vacuous because it's not actually about solving the problem. It's just about virtue signaling. Like if you were to say, again, when it comes to sales, everything in life, you want to make it quantifiable, whether it's goals of improving yourself, your health, your business, whatever it is. I mean, a more articulate way, if you really wanted to actually have mechanisms in place to actually fix this problem, one would think Mark Hamill would say something to the effect of, hey, our goal is to raise $2.5 million for this specific nonprofit. This nonprofit will use the money to do X, Y, and Z. For example, providing education to low-income households about financial acumen and business practices and entrepreneurship. And our goal is to decrease the poverty rate by X amount. We donate to it. And then here's a link to actually donate. Like, make it more quantifiable and be infinitely more compelling. Now, that being said, Mark Hamill has also alienated many of his fan base because he's such a radical leftist. Don't get me wrong, that probably got him a couple of additional fans. People worship Star Wars like it's a cult, sure, that many admire. But I also think he alienates more people than he attracts past couple years with his political statements, which is one of those risks when you are so bombastic, whatever political party you're assigned to, or political pundit, or whatever political figure you're supporting, you will inherently alienate a certain part of the population. In the US, the breakdown is usually about 50-50. Now, let me know in the comments. Do you think this is a great post by Mark Hamill? I mean, statistically speaking, it's ratioed, but let me know. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Ted Cruz on an activist judge putting a biological man child abuser in jail with women. And you have Elon reacting as well. Now, this comes to us thanks to Elon's ex-Twitter. Elon said activists should be removed as judges. And Riley Gaines actually retweeted this, and she says, absolute fire of line questioning from Ted Cruz today, bravo. And it's a little bit long, but I think culturally and politically speaking, this is a very important topic. That's going. I think it's going to be culturally relevant for quite some time. It was politically relevant for some time. And even more, statistically speaking, rare, Ted Cruz is doing good on social media, which, again, he's very successful in terms of he's gotten voted and reelected multiple times. He's very successful from a political perspective. And I appreciate his stance on the Second Amendment as well, obviously. But, I mean, usually on social media, he gets roasted, to say the least. Probably one of the best things he ever did was a parody with the Babylon Bee, where, 2015? When Trump accused his dad of being, related to the Zodiac Killer. He had a great pun on Babylon Bee where someone comes to Ted Cruz's door and they say, hey, we're looking for this guy, the Zodiac Killer. And just like, oh, no, I can't really help you, so I gotta go. And as Ted Cruz closes the door, one of the ransom notes from the Zodiac Killer, comes from the door. I mean, that was hilarious. He was leaning into the meme, which, that was pretty clever. But nevertheless, his voice is infinitely better than mine, so I'll go ahead and let him chime off, so to say.
In your court, what matters more? The rights of individuals or your political ideology?
I apply the law to the facts.
I asked a question, which matters more?
Well, my political ideology doesn't matter at all.
Okay, so I don't believe you. And I think this case demonstrates that you are willing to subjugate the rights of individuals to satisfy your political ideology. This case involves a male defendant who raped a 9-year-old boy. Was he guilty of that?
Yes, the petitioner pled guilty to that.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have given a heads up, but definitely not a family-appropriate segment of the show if you have children or youth listening.
Okay, so he raped a 9-year-old boy. He also raped a 17-year-old girl. Was he guilty of that?
He pled guilty. The petitioner pled guilty to that crime as well.
So was he guilty?
I hope so, because she pled guilty to it.
He was a he when he did this.
That's correct.
1 year after being released again, he was convicted of having child pornography. Is that correct?
I'm unclear on exactly the time frame that you're at, but the petitioner was convicted of distributing child pornography.
Child pornography that was images of adults violently raping children.
Abhorrent conduct.
Okay.
For which there are real victims.
And this individual, 6'2", biologically a man. A minute ago you said that when this man decided that he was a she, you said this individual was, quote, I wrote it down, sober and entirely a female. That phrase struck me as remarkable. Did this individual have male genitalia?
I think what I said, or at least what
that is a verbatim quote, entirely a female.
Sorry, what I meant to say was hormonally a female.
Okay, but that's not entirely. Did this individual have male genitalia?
Yes.
So you took a 6'2" serial rapist, serial child rapist with male genitalia, and he said, you know, I'd like to be in a women's prison. And your answer was, that sounds great to me. Let me ask you something. The other women in that prison, do they have any rights?
Is that a question you're
yes,
asking me?
the other women in that prison, do they have any rights?
Of course.
Do they have the right not to have a 6'2" man who is a repeat serial rapist put in as their cellmate?
Senator Cruz, I considered the facts presented to me, and I reached a decision
I asked you a
based on what
question.
the law
I asked
is.
you a question. Do they have a right not to have a 6'2" man who is a serial rapist put in as their cellmate? Do those women have a right to that?
Every person who's incarcerated has the right to be safe in their space.
But you didn't think so. You didn't think so. And in fact, I'm going to give some quotes from your order because Senator Kennedy is right. This is not a judge's order. This is a political activist. By the way, the beginning of your order says, at birth, people are typically assigned a gender. I got to say that would astonish a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans think you go to the hospital, a baby is born, and congratulations, you have a little boy, a little girl. The assigned a gender, I know you went to Brown, but it sounds like it's in a college faculty lounge with no bearing on reality. The Bureau of Prison argued what I'm saying right now, that if you put this person in a female prison, there will be a risk of sexual assault to the women. And you know what you did? You said you didn't care about the women. Have you dealt in what universe is someone who is a serial repeat child rapist not at a risk of reoffending?
Senator, as I do in every case.
I know you've been told to repeat the line, I follow the law. I asked a question. In what universe is someone who is a serial repeat child rapist not at risk of reoffending?
Sir, I looked at the facts that were before me in this case. All of the evidence, including the statements of every warden who had supervised this petitioner.
I have to say,
Shit.
if I were the father of one of those women, and you decided that my daughter's cellmate was going to be a 6'2" man who over and over and over again committed violent sexual assault, I would say the entire justice system is absurd, and it is clear on your record your political ideology matters a heck of a lot more than the rights of those women that you endangered. I think you're a radical, and I think you have no business being a judge.
Yeah. He sounds pretty mentally
In your
manipulative
court,
to me. Again, I don't know. Does Elon think that's a bug or a feature, but the video always repeats itself automatically? Which, again, it was a pretty good video, but I don't want to rewatch the whole thing again right now. That's one of the most mentally vacuous things I've heard all year, which is saying something because we've covered everything from business blunders to political snafus and more. Yeah, statistically speaking, offenders or people who commit those types of offensive have a high propensity of repeating. Which begs the question, why do we allow them to be in society anymore or even be alive is beyond me. Let's just say I'm definitely a fan of the court system going through the proper process and having the option of a death penalty in that case. I know not all states even allow that at this point, but yeah, I would love to hear the compelling reason of why they should be permitted to stay alive after they had their day in court and they are convicted with beyond a preponderance of a doubt that they did the most horrific things I think people can possibly conceive. And again, these activist judges are terrible. Even like again, I have friends in all sides political aisles. I have friends who think adults should be able to transition, and I mean, even no one I know, and let me know in the comments if you have any friends like this. No one thinks this is a good idea. And it's happening more and more. You have biological men who are getting convicted of crimes, and they just said, "Oh yeah, I want to go to the female prison," and it's horrifying. We've seen female inmates that are getting impregnated in prison because they have biological men in the same area. It's terrible. And of course, this cliche is all this time when you have the politicians being grilled, where of course she's not going to say anything of substance, not that her intellect could actually provide much, but they're just saying the same cliche thing, oh, I examine the law and all that kind of stuff. They're actually saying, well, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to do this. Also, we're in the Constitution. They want to argue about the law. We're in the Constitution to say you have a right to be in a jail cell with someone of the opposite sex or gender, whatever you want to call them. That's ridiculous. And you want to pretty valid, got 19.3 million views and 187,000 likes when Elon retweeted this. Yeah, this is one of Ted Cruz's most viral moments. And he should be running this in every political campaign for years. Because again, this has become a political issue, and there are politicians who think it's a good idea to have biological men in female prisons and jails. Which, astonishingly enough, they'll get reelected. There are a lot of voters who think that's a good thing. Most of them call them, people from San Francisco, but I partially digress. Let's go in the comments and see what is the major consensus. Got a Dave Chappelle clip. Let's see here. What did Dave say here? So, I was going to say his voice is definitely better than mine. This is only about 30 seconds long. So, Bank M says Dave Chappelle pointed this out some time ago.
God forbid I ever go to jail. But if I do, I hope it's in California. Because as soon as the judge sentences me, I'll be like, Your Honor, before you sentence me, I just want the court to know I identify as a woman. Send me to women's jail. And as soon as I get in there, you know what I'm gonna be doing? Give me a fruit cocktail, bitch, before I knock your motherfucking teeth out. I'm a girl just like you, bitch. Come over here and suck this girl dick I got. Don't make me explain myself. I'm a girl.
I got 2,000 views, 2,000 likes. Brian Basson says we need more senators like Ted Cruz. He doesn't fool around, getting 2.2 thousand likes. Let's see here. Oh, is it an advertisement? Oh, all right. Specifically, White Jenny. Oh, election interference, just so they say. Here, C-SPAN. Michelle FJB says, I've been watching the Senate hearing after Senate hearing on C-SPAN confirming the most awful judges you can imagine. Not only do many have very limited experience and terrible records on litigation, their college thesis papers are riddled with communist rhetoric, and they seem to love child abusers. I had to stop watching them because the agenda here is obvious and depressing. Got 421 likes. Mark says activist judge needs to read this book, and it's Dr. Seuss, but it's been doctored, unmarkedly intended, to say, if you're born with a dick, you're not a chick, getting 1,000 likes. Joe Quinn Texero says there will no longer be a judge in Brazil, getting 635 likes. Freedompedia says, imagine Ted Cruz as president. Man is smart and always hitting the point, getting 124 likes. Mr. Reagan says, why do Democrats even nominate such judges? She should be disbarred, getting 463 likes. Well, it's because a lot of them agree, not all of them, but many of them do agree with that ideology. They think it's, what is it called? They think it's tolerance and all that kind of stuff. What is the magical political term they seem to use and use as a crutch time and time again? You need to embrace it. The right, no. Let me know in the comments. It's eluding me at the moment, but there's a couple cliche talking points that they futilely use to an attempt to justify things like this. Going down, Metal Mark says we're talking about Altio. We are right, getting 215 likes. Victoria Brownsworth says, so Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas and Eileen Cannon for the first time, we're in agreement, getting 476 likes. Let's see here. Are you seeing, what is this? Chris Barnett says, are you suggesting judges ought to act as some kind of unbiased person who primarily seeks the truth? What a revolutionary thought, getting 957 likes. I mean, nowadays it is a revolutionary thought. Gunther Eagleman says immediately, getting 381 likes. Sassafras says I agree with this 100%, getting 108 likes. Let's see. Ian Carroll says agreeing being an activist is inherently counter to everything the judiciary stands for. The point is to uphold the law as written, not to change or interpret it in a new way. Activists should become lawmakers if they want to change, or if they want to make change. I got 852 likes. Here. JD Sharp says, then you should be talking about Judge Merchan, who the judge who is overseeing the Trump case, who had been paid by Democratic politicians, is clearly extremely biased against Trump. And 501 likes. General TM says, this woman is not a judge. She's just another liberal activist pushing a liberal ideology. She's not even intelligent enough to understand there are only two genders. Maybe the judges should require taking a biology course. Getting 814 likes. And a friendly and sad reminder that there's someone on the United States Supreme Court that she doesn't know the difference. So Ketanji Brown, who is totally nominated because she was the best in the whole world. That's absolutely how Joe Biden. Oh no, wait, that's no, actually not. But she, when they were asking during preliminary for the Supreme Court nomination, they asked her, "Do you tell the difference?" And her response was, "I'm not a biologist," which shows how mentally vacuous and how much more of an activist she is. Channel Frost says, "And as teachers." And you have some teachers holding up the, can't read her shirt, but they're having the fist held up. The only good thing about that picture, the only cool thing is that there's an old CRT TV behind her. Then you have, they always look creepy, but then you have all the teachers wearing a Pride trans flag. And then in the classroom, a Pride Progress trans flag. The marketing isn't great. The consistency is key for building a brand. They have gay pride flags and trans flags in the background. Getting 619 likes. Here, Mike Scott, it's unbelievable that this is in the United States of America, getting 77 likes. Sheepdog Society says Joe Biden has appointed 200 of them, getting 79 likes. Matt Couch says, holy crap, everyone needs to watch this. This is insane, putting a serial male child abuser in women's prison. Dear God, getting 43 likes. So interesting enough, not a lot of contrarian statements, pretty much everyone agreeing with Elon. Granted, if you have modicum of intelligence, I would argue you are as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this becomes more and more of a political issue and people start to vote differently because of it. Or do they just subsequently vote as they always have and these judges just multiply like rabbits? Or communists? Something to that effect. Let me know in the comments. Are you surprised that these stories are being brought more and more to the light? Do you think more and more people are actually, caring about these stories? They'll vote differently? And then have you anecdotally heard or seen this locally in your area? Let me know in the comments. As always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Nikki Haley endorsing Trump. Granted, I don't think many people care, but nevertheless, she finally officially bowed out and says that she's going to endorse him after, I don't know how many times she's flip-flopped, so many times she perhaps belongs in the kitchen as a pancake flipper or something to that effect. Something to that kind of effect. Now, this is first brought to us on social media thanks to Benny Johnson, who said, quote, breaking Nikki Haley, I will be voting for Trump. And I mean, I usually say their voice is infinitely better than mine. In this case, it might be a coin flip. And interestingly enough, Nikki Haley actually has an American flag pin on her lapel, which is a rare thing for people in politics these days. Usually they have other countries that people can't pronounce or point out on a map. But I partially digress.
I put my priorities on a president who's going to have the backs of our allies and hold our enemies to account, who would secure the border, no more excuses, a president who would support capitalism and freedom, a president who understands we need less debt, not more debt. Trump has not been perfect on these policies. I've made that clear many, many times. But Biden has been a catastrophe. So I will be voting for Trump. Having said that, I stand by what I said in my suspension speech. Trump would be smart to reach out to the millions of people who voted for me and continue to support me, and not assume that they're just going to be with him. And I genuinely hope he does that.
For a second, I thought she was doing like a stand-up speech, like at the Comedy Store or something. No, the people who voted for Nikki Haley, we call those people Democrats. Because they were. I mean, we saw this where there's literally Democrats registering for the Republican primaries so they can vote for her. And again, I got friends throughout the political, of all the political ideologies, some more than others, obviously, but I don't know a single person who was voting for Nikki Haley and supporting her who would also support Trump. Any of the ideas they had were just the antithesis of each other. And I mean, even I remember famously Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, said, if you support Biden, I mean, she should probably donate some money to Nikki Haley because they have a lot of similar policies. So, I mean, it's funny. I mean, and again, Trump should be going after the people in the middle. He should be trying to get Democrats to come over to the side. I understand that makes sense, but the people who are voting for her, and let me know if they think different in the comments, they were never going to vote for Trump. But let's go through the main comments and see what folks have to say. Well, moderately viral got 873,000 views and 18,000 likes. One of the first comments coming from Ian Jager saying this endorsement will help Trump with moderate voters, getting 313 likes, which I really don't think so. I mean, she wasn't really that moderate. I mean, most of her policies were mostly left wing. She had a couple right, but, and again, a lot of people said, no, a lot of people are calling her a warmonger. I mean, how many people in the middle support Nikki Haley? I know people in the middle who are supporting RFK Jr. I mean, I think that type of endorsement, I was going to say if, inevitably when RFK drops out, if he endorses Trump, I think that would help get people in the middle and maybe some libertarians to go over the Trump side. That I think will have an infinite greater effect than this anemic video. Now, you have Paratrooper Brady saying she's trying to call her all back into the Republican Party, getting 488 likes. Sassafras says, I still don't like her, never will. This Photoshop picture of Nikki Haley giving herself what is it, a little award, presidential award. It says Iowa, or it's the shape of Iowa. It's his first game, 164 likes. McNanimous says, well, that's because she had no choice, but she's finished to the MAGA movement. She's a traitor, getting 113 likes. Let's see here. Rugman says, I don't believe anything about Nikki Haley has changed. Nikki is simply trying to salvage any political career she might have now that she has realized the Democrat handlers don't want her either. And quote, getting 17 likes. PTR says, too little too late, we will never forget, we will never forgive. Getting 33 likes. Gunther Eagleman simply had 4 laughy emojis saying we know, getting 82 likes. Let's see here. Are there any contrarian statements? Probably not, but let's keep scrolling. Catherine Runnell says, just be happy she's voting for Trump. Will hopefully she gets her supporters over to Trump. Getting 26 likes, which I'm skeptical to say the least. Wonder Hershey says, don't believe for 1 second, getting 19 likes. Big Fish says, we need every damn vote. People mocking this need to realize this, getting 49 likes. Florida 1 says, the globalists want her in Trump's cabinet. That's it. That's all, getting 62 likes. American says she's currently drunk tweeting after saying this, getting 51 likes. Let's see. So, again, I don't think anyone is really, I don't think this is really going to help Trump out at all. I mean, it might get him one more vote, like hers, if she actually does vote for him at the end of the day. But let me know, do you think this will have a big impact on the election this year? Do you think this is going to be a big needle mover? Have millions of people going to the Trump campaign or the Trump side now? I mean, probably not, but as always, let me know in the comments. I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Illinois wanting to change the term offender to justice impacted individual because they've solved all the other problems in Illinois. It's just a great place to live now. That's a joke because it's been terrible for decades. But this is first brought to us thanks to End Wokeness on X Twitter. End Wokeness says, quote, satire is now reality. Illinois just passed a bill to change the word offender to justice impacted individual. HB 4409 passed both chambers, unquote. Let's see what these mentally backwards people have to say. That's only about a minute 16 long.
Well, we don't mess with anything in terms of the term victim. We just change offender to justice impacted individual. We're adding the Department of Corrections, adding Human Services, adding Sangamon and Cook County adult probation, and 2 members who've experienced the ARI system as offenders or justice impacted individual.
It might seem like a small thing. I mean, obviously changing a term can have a positive or negative impact when we do that. But I would say that over and over again, we keep changing the names for how we are referring to those who are have entered into criminal activity. And each time we make that change, each agency has to make that change on every one of their documents. So right now in the Department of Corrections, there's multiple changes that have been made, and it's costing thousands and thousands of dollars just to do a name change.
Jesus.
So I would ask, why is it necessary to make the name change? Even if the rest of the bill was okay, which I don't think that it is, but even if the rest of it was okay, the name changes may seem like a small thing, but it costs thousands and thousands of dollars to do that.
My gosh.
Well,
Someone with Illinois had a modicum of intelligence. Do you hear her? Again, that's a great point. Why are they spending money they
mess
don't
with the enemy in
have?
terms of
Again, the video replays itself. Apologies. The Illinois is spending money they don't have to do useless crap like this. And I suspect it's also so they can just continue to be soft on crime, or rather encourage crime with their policies and procedures. So instead of fixing anything in Illinois, this is their priority. Virtue signaling and changing vernacular. Yet again, a friendly reminder of 1984 by George Orwell. A sad book, but albeit extremely accurate to modern society. Even more depressing when you see some parts of modern society being worse than in the book. And again, Illinois has been losing businesses for decades. Very similar to California. They're, one of the most largest, well, it used to be respected, but one of the largest businesses, it used to be headquartered in Chicago, was Boeing. They're no longer in the state. You also have Nabisco, having one of their largest operation departments over there. Gone as well. Tyson Foods used to have an operation office. They're gone as well. People are moving their offices and their businesses' headquarters out there in droves. People are leaving the state as well. Has one of the highest taxes as well. One of 2 states you need an ID, a special ID, just to buy ammunition, which many would say is unconstitutional. Because it costs, you have to pay for that, and of course, just as the same standard background check. Disgusting and mentally vexed, to say the least. Even if they fix everything in Illinois, which they never will, like Chicago, it's been terrible for almost 100 years, this shouldn't be a priority. And you're also, I would actually argue, you're actually encouraging deplorable behavior because you're decreasing the vernacular. If anything, I would, again, I was going to say, I don't know what kind of hell would it be actually to be a politician in Illinois. I'd probably, yeah, it'd be terrible. Let's say if I were elected official in Illinois, which you would only do if you have to fix so many things to fix that state, but nevertheless, just for spite, I'd introduce a bill, say, all right, we're going to, instead of saying, we're going to change the bill. So instead of offender, we're just going to change that word to pieces of shit. Again, they should be, if you're convicted through the court system, people should not be giving you accolades or you're calling you nice things. I understand once you serve your term, you should be, I understand that. But really? This is their top priority on the line? Maybe I'm alone. Maybe everyone in the comments is going to say, this is a great idea. Now everything is solved in Illinois. This is great. Probably not, but let's dive in. One of the first comments comes from Elon Musk saying this is insane, getting 5.1 thousand likes. Paul Zupa says the amount of effort wasted on this nonsense is astonishing. It's also distracting so people don't perceive the crime epidemic in Illinois is so bad. Next, they'll change the word to crime to justice adjacent or mostly justice. Got 434 likes. And actually, you do have some cities that are changing the statistics of their crime because they changed the definitions of what crime is. They changed the dollar amount. It's fascinatingly disgusting. Mark Macklin says drug dealers will soon be called unlicensed pharmacists, getting 1.4 thousand likes. Never Got Media TM says unbelievable. Takes a special group of individuals to think this way. There's a picture that says liberalism is a mental disorder, unquote, getting 292 likes. S Cartoon says to control the power, you need to control the narrative. To control the narrative, you must control the language. Getting 597 likes. Another brilliant novel is Animal Farm, again by George Orwell. That's an even easier read. It's a lot shorter, and I would say it's pretty appropriate, more child appropriate for younger readers. And again, it's A+. This person references the book as well. Stella says this isn't satire; is fiction turned into reality. Where Mr. Orwell erroneously titled his book 1984 instead of 2024. Got 145 likes. General TM says, I'm just going to use the word offender even more, just like illegal aliens, getting 575 likes. And yet another example of mainstream media and culture and politics trying to change words to make things sound differently. One of the most common phrases past couple of years when it comes to illegal aliens is migrants, which legally speaking, a migrant is a legal mechanism where people will come from other countries to work and temporarily come home. Or sorry, they'll cross legally, they'll work, then they'll come home. That's a legal word. That's a legal process. And yet they're using that legal process to obfuscate the truth by making it sound like, oh yeah, this is all legal, and they're all getting the proper background checks, proper procedures, like a traditional migrant would. But no, got 575 likes for that again from Joe TM. Arthur Eagleman says, I'll keep calling them offenders, criminals, thugs, and POS is getting 996 likes. Real Ben Garrison Cartoon says, a criminal by any other name is still a criminal, getting 181 likes. Hodgson says, it's like they steal ideas from old South Park episodes, getting 855 likes. Peggy Dawson says, can't we get rid of these MFers? I'm so tired of how stupid they are, getting 103 likes. Let's see here. Scrolling down more advertisements. Let's see here. Little memes, meme of Bugs Bunny fainting. It says, justice impacted individuals when they are arrested for sexual assault, getting 27 likes. Patriot Pointman says, tired of liberals and the BS. It's a bald eagle for American flag. It says, Freedom Eagle does not approve. Tired of this BS happening. Getting 58 likes. Here. Is that about Chicago? No. Oh, it is kind of. But let's go down here. First word says, just call him a criminal like in the old days when there's no confusion. Getting 53 likes. Mike Lay Torres is getting sick of the entire of this ward fair, where they changed the word according to in order to hide what's going on. Getting 66 likes. So overwhelmingly positive support in terms of, yeah, no one agrees that Illinois should be doing this stuff. And it's also, get what you vote for. It's Illinois. They've been Democrat for nearly 100 years in terms of, well, if you look at the elections and who they vote for their mayors and all the city of Chicago. But they'll turn around any day now. I got a good feeling. Even though the policies haven't worked for nearly 100 years. But nevertheless, maybe. I mean, probably not. The Las Vegas odds are probably not zero, but it's probably the odds of, Chicago being turned around culturally, business way, and with business and culture, probably 0.00000000137%, approximately. But let me know in the comments. Have you seen any businesses thrive in Chicago the past couple of years? Do you have any reason to go visit that? Do you think this word change? Do you think the locals are supportive of this word change, or do you think they'd rather Illinois be doing literally anything more productive? Let me know in the comments. As always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Citi fat finger sale of $444 billion instead of the intended, what was it, 50 or 70 million? Now, this is first brought to us thanks to Kate Chapman over at LinkedIn News. And they say that Citigroup is also being fined over their fat finger trade. Now, they know that Citigroup has agreed to pay $79 million in fines to UK regulators over a fat finger trading error 2 years ago that resulted in a sudden sell-off of European stocks from Paris to Warsaw. A London-based trader working from home on a public holiday tried to sell $58 million in stocks, but mistakenly entered an order worth of $444 billion. I want to say, this might be the best example of why work from home isn't good. I'm only partially kidding, but yeah, was this person inebriated by drinking Bud Light or something? How do you make that much of a mistake? Especially because the 558, like 4 on the keyboard, like 444 billion, 58. I mean, the keys they're pretty far away. They note that about 1.4 billion in equities were sold before the order was canceled. At one point, Bloomberg reported at the time the trade wiped out nearly 325 billion in capital. They note that Citigroup systems were poorly designed and its real-time monitoring ineffective. The UK Financial Conduct Authority said in a statement earlier Tuesday, the bank, which disputed none of the findings, has been working to overhaul its technology and systems since. This is perhaps the greatest, physically speaking, one of the greatest human errors in history. There's a joke in IT where people used to say, something's wrong with the network or something's wrong with something's wrong with technology. But usually one of the biggest issues of technology is the human error, because again, humans are by their very nature inherently imperfect. Yeah, I can't imagine having a bigger. Yeah, that's the biggest business blunder of the year, fiscally speaking, the past couple of years. I mean, Bud Light lost $1.4 billion in sales. That was bad. I mean, imagine if this went through. I mean, I'm pretty sure with their asset to debt ratio, they probably would be out of business. But if they were actually to go through on that loss for the sale of $444 billion. And now, granted, it's just a slap on the wrist in terms of the total monetary value $79 million based on their total assets. But nevertheless, having an employee with access and ability, there wasn't parameters or safeguards put in place, like a big warning label jumping on the screen saying, hey, are you sure you want to do this trade? Are you sure? This is the actual amount. Did you mean to do this? Like, just a rudimentary, even just a pop-up clarification would have saved them, again, well, this fine at $79 million rather. So, and then today, not having policies in place to prevent this, as well as the employee actually making this happen, and now this big fine. I can say, Citi, that is certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you could click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.